So when we're looking at the different ways that time is calculated, how it's measured, how the movement of the sun from our perspective moves throughout the sky. Some days are sunny, some days are gloomy. We have day, we have night, and then as the light is shifting throughout the course of a day or a week or a month or a season or a year, we have these various different kind of systems. Like, okay, so now it's my birthday, and this is like what the day looks like, and that means it's winter or summer or spring or fall or autumn. So there's different ways that we are observing the light, the distribution of light throughout, I guess then you have to say, the time that we're spending here. So anyhow, we're having the equinox, and it's a big one because every year it happens twice a year on both hemispheres, where then the light and day are equal for that period. And that does something to us because it begins the shift of our experiences, no matter the time zone, yes, but also the hemisphere we're in. Our activities begin to change. Maybe we go from outside to inside or from inside to outside. And definitely our thoughts change, our hormones change, but life doesn't change because we change. Actually, there's like a cosmic meaning for this, and I want to explain a little bit about what that is because it's about the equinox when we're having that balance. So I think what's really important to understand is that if we understand that in the March equinox, the quality of our lives was being weighed with that light and that darkness. And then in the September equinox, we have the quantity of life is being weighed. Not only life, but also your money, your time, your health, everything is being weighed because that's what happens. Light and day, you have the balance, so you see, am I off balance with what that is, with that perfect zero? How far away am I from that perfect zero, which is an eternity? It's not nothing, it's eternity. So the quality that was planted in March takes form as material expression. Money, health, relationships, opportunities. And it's about measure. How much vitality, how much abundance and resources that we're going to actually manifest. Okay, so that's what was going on there. Now, we are now looking with the September equinox, weighing how well our seeds have taken root. Are we aligned enough to receive that quality? And how much is it going to manifest through? So always the equinox is asking us to reflect back to ourselves. What's being reflected is a part of you that is deep within you, that maybe you're not in touch with on a daily basis consciously, but you are in touch with it in different ways. Okay? And that is the access into that part is working with an archetype. And kind of like this new archetypal energy steps in for the collective to look at themselves, but also individually, each and every one of us needs to look at that archetype within us. And every year, every equinox is a different archetype. Okay, so, and that archetype is also showing how much life force we are going to manifest through that archetype as we are experiencing it. And that's why I do different classes on every equinox about what that manifestation is looking like through that particular archetype. It's like it's a whole dedicated thing to that. Okay? And because the reflection, like I said, is twofold. You have the personal and then you have the collective. So my point is that the equinox isn't just measuring, but it's also naming. What is the mirror? What is it that I need to look at? What is it that I need to look in within myself? What is my relationship with that archetype that is now mirroring back to me? It's the mirror in which I will look through and see myself and my reality for another 6-month cycle into the next equinox, because every 6 months we have an equinox, and in those 6 months we have 6 new moons, 6 full moons, and 6 solar ingressions. Okay, so then you have 12 and 24 throughout the year. Of course you have the blue moons, but that's the blue moon. So on the equinox, 3 layers of your being are being opened. One is going to reflect your essence, one is going to reflect your choices, and one is going to reflect what you've made manifest. And so the balance of these determines how your story is going to continue over the next season and over the next 6 months. That is really intense. And that's why, like, we have more or less these 3 days of that equinox where I'm suggesting, but I also guide people through that to be in the meditation. What is it that we are going to look at? What is being reflected back to us? Because we can understand that there's a process. There are many archetypes that are working every day, every moment, even now. But especially on the equinox, you have these archetypes of judgment, and then you have these archetypes of mercy. Light and night, dark and day. Okay, night and day, light and dark, okay? So these archetypes, they are weighing the fruit of our seeds from the past 6 months. What does our manifested world look like? What does our reality look like? And looking at our deeds. Did our deeds match our intentions? What were our intentions? All of this is being looked at. So there you have these days of the first day of the equinox is very intense, but then you have 10 days that's going through. The whole solar month of Libra is all about the scales. It's all about the equinox. But it starts on the first day of Libra, the equinox, and then you have 10 days where we are kind of going through that process. And of course, it's connected to the 10 days of the Tree of Life. And then you have another set of 10 days and another set of 10 days. And, I'll explain this. But then you have then the mid-equinox, and that's where then we're cleansing ourselves of the static and the distortion. And I will talk about that separate. But what we need to know to prepare us is basically the equinoxes, we're at this cosmic checkpoint, and it's very structured in time, and it's right on time, and it's happening time and time and time and again. It's this review of our personal ledger, of our spirit, of our being, of what's inside. And it's not random, it's an organized system, and you have the different karma that we are that's being balanced out. And you have the organized karma, and then you have the chaotic karma. So in everyday life, karma feels chaotic. Oh my God, my karma is bad, my karma is bad. What's going around is coming around. It can be very unpredictable at times. And that's where then we get the phase, karma is, like, and that comes from the sense that we are blindsided by the consequences that we have set into motion. But the equinox is reframing karma as, okay, you guys, no. Karma, it is perfect. It is organized. It's a rhythm. It is not chaotic. And it has a very compassionate structure, believe it or not. So twice a year, we have this kind of balance point on the equinox, but I want to say once a year because the equinoxes are different. You have 2 equinoxes a year, but they are different. So the September equinox, it's once a year opportunity where that ledger is being open, it's being looked at. And it's not like about punishment, it's about doing the books. It's cosmic bookkeeping. You think of it like a spiritual fiscal year where the accounts of your merit and your debt, all of that is being looked at, and it's amazing. So this gives us an agency. This gives us the ability to know, okay, the audit is coming, so we need to prepare. What do we need to do? The whole month of Virgo is about reflecting and doing course correction. That's what it's about during Virgo. It's all being looked at. Because like there's a lot of judgment that's happening with justice, like the archetype that starts with the equinox, the Libra energy. And it's not a vindictive judgment, but it's about seeing things for what they really are. And you have those angels of judgment, and these are archetypes, of awareness holding up a mirror to us. But the scales, they are neutral. I read about this in my book, actually, about the whole process. And they're not condemning, but they are weighing. So the equinox is that cosmic mirror, and I'm guiding us through a ritual to show you the proportion of alignment and misalignment. Alignment and misalignment. And this is not about shaming you, but it's about really transforming. And this is happening every year. And why does it happen every year? Because it's telling us we are not lost. We are not stuck in last cycle's karma. We get always a built-in cycle of renewal, and this chance once a year to kind of reset, realign, and replant ourselves. And this is like going right back to what I was talking about in the beginning. In March, you have the quality, or like the seeding. And then in autumn, you're having the quantity, the harvest. Now what can I take? And if you guys have worked with me before, like in March, we're doing the 12 days of the zodiac. And every day is, we're planting the seeds. So then in September, it's like, okay, now it's time to harvest that and to look at that. So why does the structure matter? And it's about, we need rhythm. We need rhythm. And the once a year kind of audit gives us that rhythm where we have clarity. We can look at our life. We have mercy. We're not punished endlessly, but we're given opportunities to, okay, you can always change, but really then it's like, okay, it's time to do a change now. And you want to do the changes before the equinox, okay? Really, like, if you have like a court date and you need to go to court, you want to get everything ready before the judge comes, right? You don't want to do, okay, because then if you say, like, if you're being sentenced, that's a forced change, and then you have to, fill out that sentence, okay? This is also great. It's good because it's healing, but still, like, with spirituality, we want to be practical and we want to like do the change beforehand. And this can be very empowering because you can shift the outcome through awareness, deeds, generosity, and your intention. So it's like making karma less like a wild storm and more like the seasons. And then we do different activities in different seasons. So it's something that you can anticipate but not be afraid of. It's something you can prepare for and participate in. And I love it. I love it. And I like to work with these archetypes, and it's really, I want to tell you, like, these archetypes, you can think of them as like angels. You know, they're not winged beings, but they are forces of consciousness. They are recording everything that you're doing. They are weighing everything that everyone is doing. That's why we don't need to keep tabs on what other people are doing, because that's between them and those angels. And what's going to happen is that they're like these subatomic particles, and they reflect back to us different. Okay, you have like 22 archetypes, and then you have more than that, but I don't want to, you know, digress. They reflect back to us our inner states, the good and the low vibrations as well. So there are different archetypes, and there's one that's like very much an angel of truth keeping. And it's like this inner scribe who's ensuring that nothing in us is going undetected. Okay? So this is very important, because what I'm trying to tell you is that we all have a file, and we don't get away with anything, okay? And even if we're doing good deeds and we don't get praise for it, no one sees it, that also is being recorded, okay? But if you, like, it's tricky, because it's like, you have to, well, I don't want to get into that, because we all have our own path, and we have our own way, and we have our own teachers, and, you know, like, we have our own way of doing that, but everything is being recorded, even your intentions of why you're doing something good, or, you know, God forbid you're doing something bad. So we have these imprints of our actions, our choices, and our intentions, and then the memory traces in the universal field. So what this is about is, before, like, our notes, our records of consciousness, before they are being submitted for review, they can be corrected. So that's that whole month of Virgo when we're doing the atonements, we're working on ourselves. Very important, okay? Molto importante, ser wichtig, okay? Say it in all languages, very important. So this is telling us that before the equinox, we are in this window of transformation. We are in this window of transformation. And we can still shift our karmic trajectory that's going to be sealed during the equinox now. Not after, now. So once our notes are being handed off to the first review, like of our karma, in the cosmic court, they become crystallized. Jung, like if you worked with Jung, he might call it fate, okay? The consequences of our untransformed patterns. But in the equinox system that I've prepared and am working on, it's kind of like once the balance tips at the equinox, you will receive like that direct mirror of what has been planted and what has been recorded. So going more into that, it's like you have the merit and you have the debt. The merit and the debt. And both sides are necessary, because the debt is not a bad thing, but it pushes us to grow, and the merit, it's stabilizing us, it's supporting us, it's giving us like extra gifts. Okay. Now, if you're listening to me and you're kind of like, okay, this is like intense, or I have no idea what you're talking about, but I want to, or like, I feel like my karma is so bad that this is freaking me out, and like, I don't even feel like I can do any of that. I have to tell you something, that there are angels who protect people who cannot entirely transform. So there are some people, some souls who really genuinely strive to achieve transformation, but they cannot fully elevate. Okay, they get, that's just where they are. And they are watched over by unique angels who are protecting them. So because what happens is that the psyche is acknowledging the effort as real energy, even if the results are not manifesting. All right? Because in order to transform, we have to have the desire to transform. That's very powerful. But you need the second step, which is as powerful, and that's the action. There needs to be an action, and then there needs to be a shift in the consciousness. So really, you need all three, and that's why those three things are being looked at. And if one is missing, the fruits will not manifest entirely. Okay, but the intention still plants for future cycles. So it's it's common. It's very hard to transform, but it's also it's like a very good first step to kind of like, you know, if you cannot fully embody the transformation, and if your reality looks like that and you see that, that's okay. You keep doing the work because you get like this protection and you keep going and you're doing it. Okay, so just to not feel discouraged by that at all. All right. So there is then also the transformation through atonement, and I have different exercises for that and programs for that, through prayer, good deeds, and of course through charity. Not just money, but with your actions and restoring balance in the world. Okay? And these are different kinds of ways that we can transform, make changes now. And it's about realigning the self with the flow of abundance and the balance at the equinox. All right? Okay, and every year is connected to a different archetype, and there's so much to learn about that. And I just want to say, like, the angelic system, these archetypes, they are a mystical language for self-reflection. And the equinox is that moment where we're being handed an archetype to work with, and it's going to show us how are we embodying that or how have we not embodied that. So you guys, before the equinox works, like before the gate is really closing, there is still time for correction, rebalancing, shifting your consciousness. And you probably have been experiencing that, like so many changes going on. But after we're going through the equinox, we begin to crystallize as we've done in the years past. And it's amazing because there's like this whole process, and I will talk about it in the equinox, because I have to just leave you with this. It's a little bit of a paradox, but like the karma is fluid. It's not fixed. We can always make changes, always. And I don't believe in fate is like our destiny. I believe our destiny is to overcome our fate. And I know that that's true. So we can negotiate, karma is fluid, because with the power of God, we can overcome anything and everything. And, but there is also a process that karma does crystallize, and we cannot ignore that. And that's what's happening, okay? So, you know, that's what's going on. And I hope you guys like are really preparing and doing that. And I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, and please feel free to share this with anybody you think needs to hear it. And if you have any questions, let me know. And I wish you all a wonderful and blessed equinox wherever you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.